Hi everyone, welcome back to Essy Cooks. In this video, we're going to be meal prepping these delicious, healthy Asian bowls with a miso creamy tahini sauce. They are so good and they're so versatile, so you can even switch it up and use some different ingredients if you like, but we're going to go through everything we use to make this delicious bowl as well as this absolutely amazing creamy dressing. Check that out. This is so good. You're definitely going to want to have this for lunch over and over again. I made quinoa rice to go with this, but you could make noodles, rice, or just straight quinoa. Like I said, this one is quite versatile, and we're going to go through all the ingredients to make this so that you have lunch for 4 days, or you can even switch it up and have it for dinner. So the first thing we're going to do is make our quinoa rice. So I did that by using half a cup of white rice and half a cup of quinoa. Of course, I'm going to wash that before I cook it. Now, I do want to make sure to mention that if you're using a white rice with your quinoa, you need to make sure that it cooks in around 15 minutes because that's how long it takes for quinoa to cook. And since we're cooking them together, we need to make sure that the cook time is roughly the same. If you were to use a wild rice or something like that, it takes maybe 45 minutes to cook. It's just not going to work in this recipe. Like I said, you can use just quinoa or just rice, so that would be 1 cup of dry quinoa or 1 cup of rice. Now, I'm going to put 1 3/4 cup of water in here to cook this quinoa rice. I know usually for rice that would be 2 cups of water, but you need a little bit less water for this. So just make sure to use 1 3/4 cup for that. We're going to allow that to cook now. Just let that simmer for about 15 minutes. Now I've got 1 block of extra firm tofu that has been drained and pressed, and I'm just going to cube that. So I'm going to cut it into nice bite-sized cubes, and I'm going to be cooking that in the air fryer just to make it easy and to make this nice and crispy. So I'm going to add that right into a large bowl with a tablespoon of cornstarch, which is also going to make it super crispy, and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. You can use tamari if you like there. I used a low sodium soy sauce. I'm just going to toss it to combine. I'm going to throw that right into the air fryer at 390 for around 8 to 10 minutes or until it's nice and golden and crispy. Now I've got 1/4 of a red cabbage, and my husband's just going to grate that up in the food processor for me, which is great. You can just grate it with a cheese grater, or you can even use a peeler, or you can just chop it finely, whatever you want. I found this is just, well, obviously I'm not doing it, so it's easy, but this is the easiest way. So just grate up that cabbage and grate up that carrot as well, or chop it very finely, because it's going to kind of be like our salad base in here, and we're going to be getting in a lot of color and a lot of veggies and a lot of plant diversity, which is so great for a meal when we're meal prepping. I know there's quite a few ingredients in here, which is why it's great to meal prep, because you're not making this just for one meal. Now I'm making this delicious dressing. So we have tahini, we have shiro miso, if you can find this one. This brand is honestly so flavorful and so good. So we're going to be, those are kind of the base for this dressing. There's going to be a few more ingredients, but if you want to make it even tastier, you can add a little bit of fresh ginger and a little bit of fresh garlic as well. Now I'm going to add lime juice, I'm going to add maple syrup, I'm going to add toasted sesame oil, and I'm going to add a little bit of soy sauce. Again, you can use tamari if you want to make it gluten-free. And we are going to blend that up until it is nice and smooth and creamy, but honestly, tahini is quite thick, so we're going to need to add a little bit of water. Start 1 tablespoon at a time and blend it up. You can do it in a blender, you can use an immersion blender, you can just use whatever you have. Blending it does make it so delicious. Now keep in mind this will thicken a bit in the fridge. That's too thick for me. I'm going to keep adding water until I get it to the right consistency, but don't add too much at once because you don't want it to be too watery. That could ruin it. So you'll see the texture that I have here, and you can make it according to your preference, but this is the exact texture that I'm looking for. Look at that. So creamy, so nice and thick, but still runny enough to drizzle over a dressing. And like I said, it is going to thicken up a bit in the fridge as well. Now my tofu should be just ready to flip at halfway, so I'm just going to give that a little shake. It's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to throw it back into the air fryer at 390 for another 4 minutes and check on it because I don't want to burn it. I mean, it really depends on your air fryer how long this is going to take. This can also be baked in the oven, so just comment if you want the instructions for that. Now we're going to go ahead and check on that quinoa rice, and that is looking just about done. So once it has cooked, about 15 minutes, we can just fluff it. Keep an eye on it, of course, because it could be a little bit different depending on your brand of quinoa or rice. We're going to give that a really good fluff, and then we're going to leave it sit for another 5 minutes covered. So put that lid back on, leave it for another 5 minutes. Okay, now the tofu is completely crispy, golden brown, exactly what I was looking for. Now I'm going to toss it in a little bit of hoisin sauce, about 2 to 3 tablespoons. Just throw that in a bowl and toss it around. Now if you don't have hoisin sauce, you can use something like teriyaki or anything along those lines. It's still going to taste delicious. Personally, I just love the hoisin sauce on here. I think it tastes so good and it goes so well with the dressing that we're going to be putting on top. And now we need 4 meal prep containers of any kind, and we're just going to start dividing the ingredients between those 4 containers. So I'm going to put my nice crispy tofu. I'm going to add my quinoa rice, and like I said, you could use noodles for this as well, because if you're going to be eating it cold, sometimes it's really nice to have a cold noodle salad. Noodles, rice noodles, whatever you like, soba noodles, anything you want. Now we've got 1 cup of cooked edamame, and we're going to add in our cabbage and our carrot as well. And my girl is going to be looking for me to give her an edamame. Okay, now that that's taken care of, we can get back to working here. So look at how beautifully those bowls turned out. I mean, they always say eat the rainbow, and this is definitely an example of that, and it's so delicious with this dressing. Now, I know it looks like a lot of dressing. That is because I made a double batch because I wanted to have more for something else later in the week. So if you like this dressing, hey, go ahead, make a double batch. And I'm just going to drizzle that on top. I like to drizzle it day of. I don't like to leave it on overnight, so I'm just going to put it on one of the bowls. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you loved this video. Make sure to hit like.